Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
I know you're going to talk about the Texas Guard, Illinois Guard, but can you give us a little bit about what your next steps could be to fight that?
Well, look, our corporate counsel has been in constant communication with our Attorney General for several months now. And I just wanted to offer this up. A couple of years ago, I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations, while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city, on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city, to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families. And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action, or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available.
Say during the war, you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, I wonder what the fake.
You like this idea?
If the president orders martial law or declares martial law, then they can stay in office as a president. Potentially, there could be a play to extend the second term into a third term by creating these brash, hardcore, dramatic abductions that are creating civil unrest that eventually will create a potential civil war, which will lead to the need to declare martial law. And once martial law is declared due to an executive order, he can actually stay in as president an extended term. And then after that, he can have a private cabinet vote to keep him in 1 year at a time, bypassing any real, true voting system.
Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. I would like to give the honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim, pushing this word across the four corners of the world. And just another news update through the spirit, the power, and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Just a quick news update through the spirit. You have Chicago Democratic Mayor by the name of Brandon Johnson. He just recently signed an executive order on Monday, and it's called the ICE-free zone. And this executive order's intent is to disallow the use of city property from Trump's federal immigration operations. And that notion alone is causing a lot of havoc, disagreements, confusion, and conflicts. But what else can you expect within a city of confusion, aka America? And what we see within these end times, how Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shah has poured out the spirit upon the higher ups of Esau Edom, and to initiate this engineered chaos within the so-called United States, and where we are witnessing on a daily basis everybody that's not plugged into the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shah is being divided. Totally separation. And mind you, again, this is supposed to be the so-called United States. So most definitely the city of confusion is breaking down. And this is an article from Chicago.gov, and it says, Mayor Brandon Johnson signs ICE-free zone executive order prohibiting use of city property for federal immigration operations. And this article came out on October the 6th, 2025. And this is the current Chicago Democratic Mayor by the name of Brandon Johnson. He was signing this ICE-free zone executive order. And it says, today, Mayor Brandon Johnson signed the ICE-free zone executive order, which creates clear mechanisms to prohibit federal immigration agents from using any city-owned property in their ongoing operations in Chicago. The order expands upon Mayor Johnson's Protecting Chicago initiative, inviting local businesses and community organizations to join a citywide effort to safeguard our communities, while advancing measures to rein in the reckless behavior of federal immigration agents. So this initiative alone, Protecting Chicago initiative, goes into the prophecy within 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, when they should say peace and safety, then sudden destruction coming upon them. So therefore, it's a tactical angle to disarm the citizens and misleading them by thinking that the Chicago government is on your side. But meanwhile, whether it be Democratic or Republican, they are all forging the plans and agendas of the left-handed elites of Esau Edom. And that's by instituting a digital NWO. Let's get right quick since I said that. Revelation 13 and 11. And as you can see from the heading, the beast from the earth. And that beast goes into that pagan Roman Empire, which is biblically codified as the fourth beast. And out of that fourth beast came America, aka Babylon the Great. And that takes me right to Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So that other beast coming up out of the earth is referencing to America. That's patterned after that pagan Roman Empire. So it says, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So going back to the pagan ancient Roman Empire, you had two social classes, which was the plebeians, and they represent the common citizens of Rome, and also the patricians, and where they represent the upper ruling aristocratic class of Rome. So fast forward to that other beast coming up out of the earth, referring to America. What do you have now? What are the main two political classes that you have now? The Democrats and the Republicans, where the Democrats supposed to represent the common people or the poor, and whereas the Republicans represents the upper ruling class. And again, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Now, when you think about a lamb, it's soft, it's docile, like it's not intending to harm. And that's why the scriptures commands us to never trust thy enemy. Because according to the book of Psalm 55 and 21, it goes into how the words from his mouth were smoother than butter, which is the characteristics of that lamb speaking, those soft, smooth words that can be able to entice you and seduce you by believing into his satanic agenda, which is ultimately this NWO. So his mouth was smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, which are those characteristics of that dragon speaking. And this false narrative, how they're doing a blame game, like if it's not the Democrats' fault, then it's the Republicans' fault, or vice versa. It's all organized theater at the end of the day. And what is that causing? More political polarized views or political divide within the so-called United States of America. So more division. And what did Yahushua state? Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on the earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division. And this American society is becoming the divided states of America on a daily basis because of all of this political turmoil, chaos, and confusion. And guess what? The so-called powers that be are using Chicago as their first city takedown to kickstart this civil war. All right, so back to the article. And it says, we will not tolerate ICE agents violating our residents' constitutional rights, nor will we allow the federal government to disregard our local authority. ICE agents are detaining elected officials, tear gassing protesters, children, and Chicago police officers, and abusing Chicago residents. We will not stand for that in our city, said Mayor Brandon Johnson. With this executive order, Chicago stands firm in protecting the constitutional rights of our residents and immigrant communities and upholding our democracy. Mayor Johnson's most recent Protecting Chicago executive order comes following documented use of Chicago public schools parking lots and a city-owned parking lot in Harrison and Kedzie as staging sites for federal immigration enforcement operations. A violation of Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance, the use of city resources for these actions erodes trust between immigrant communities and the city, weakening the relationships that are essential to ensuring community safety and constitutional policing. Under Mayor Johnson's leadership, the city is taking swift and decisive action to prevent these transgressions and wield municipal power to protect the safety, dignity, and human rights of every Chicagoan, regardless of race, religion, immigration status, or national origin. As ordered by Mayor Johnson, city departments and agencies will identify all spaces that have been or may be used for federal immigration enforcement operations. City workers will then ensure that all such properties exhibit clear signage stating, "This property is owned and or controlled by the City of Chicago. It may not be used for civil immigration enforcement, including as a staging area, processing location, operations base." City departments and agencies are directed to implement this order within 5 days. This could include, but is not limited to, ensuring that wherever possible, physical barriers such as locked gates are used to limit access to city property for the purpose of federal immigration enforcement. So yeah, as you can see, it's definitely going down. And by Chicago being like that main city, more so like those testing grounds for more upcoming civil chaos throughout the different cities and states within America, it's going to be like a ripple effect. And it's no coincidence by chance how this movie Civil War came out within 2024, and they show you how Texas seceded away from the states. And you had this militia, I want to say what's the name of, like the Western Armed Forces. They were totally against other Americans. In one of those main scenes, what the guy asks, "What kind of an American are you?" So that movie Civil War was nothing but predictive programming or revelation of the method, which is the way of the so-called powers that be prophesying on the left-hand side. Because a part of their Freemasonry ritual, they have to forewarn the masses of their secret, hidden, and future agendas through entertainment. And that's whether the masses hear or forbear. Because if the so-called powers that be do not warn the masses, they feel like they will receive karma retribution. And again, that's a Freemason ritual. Psychological operations, which is nothing but sorceries, witchcrafts. And with that notion, they are stirring up a lot of political division. And all of these mixed political conflicts and views is only inflaming or heightening the current tension that's going on within America. And that takes me right to 2 Ezra 9 verse 1 within the GNT, and that's the Good News translation. He answered, "Consider all these things very carefully. When you see that some of the signs I have told you about have appeared, you will know that the time has come when Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua will bring judgment on the world he has created." Verse 3, there will be earthquakes, national rebellions, international intrigues, unstable leaders, and confused rulers, which is what we are witnessing right now with the current rulership of Esau Edom and his lesser luminaries. All types of double speaking, talking, just being double-minded. And as it stated within James 1:8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And for America to be biblically codified as the city of confusion, that shows you right there, it's a lot of unbalanced, mentally deranged, and demented madness that's currently taking place here. And it says, when you see these things happening, you will know that they are what Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua has spoken about since the beginning of creation. The beginning and the end of everything that happens in this world are clear. The same is true in the world above. Wonders and miracles show the beginning of events, and mighty signs, which are spiritual indicators, show when they end. And for all of this political turmoil and chaos that come about, it only signifies that we are at the end of Esau's rulership, the end of his movie. And it's a beginning one about to soon start. And that's by Yahushua along with his joint heirs. As it stated within Isaiah 32:1 within the NLT, how a righteous king is coming, referring to Yahushua, and honest princes will rule under him. And that's referring to Yahushua's day ones, the 144,000 governing cabinet out of the nation of Israel. And let's get right quick, Isaiah 19:1 within the GNT, and that's the Good News translation again. And as you can see from the heading, God will punish Egypt. And Egypt is a spiritual code name for America. And it says, this is a message about Egypt, aka America. The Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is coming to Egypt, riding swiftly on a cloud, referring to a so-called UFO or a spaceship. And this aerial phenomenons are definitely the talks within today's time, which is another indicator of Esau's rulership coming to an abrupt end. The Egyptian idols tremble before him, and the people of Egypt lose their courage. So the American pride or morale is definitely being broken on a daily basis. Like, you got to think about it. Like, Trump was the last great so-called white hope for these Americans. And now they are saying that he's nothing but control opposition for the banking elites that will soon implement this left-handed NWO, or this great reset. So therefore, a lot of these Americans that put forth their effort, blood, sweat, and tears into this voting, which does not count, by the way, now they are having Trump regrets. And it's also stated within Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, how those that look out of the windows be darkened, which further proves the spiritual forecast for America is not bright. But therefore, it's going to be some gloomy, dark times. So with that being said, the people of Egypt lose their courage. The Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua says, I will stir up civil war in Egypt. And civil war is conflict or war amongst the citizens within the same country. Hence the political, the social, and the racial divide within America. Like, nobody's on the same page. But you properly boast yourselves as the United States of America. So again, I will stir up civil war in Egypt, aka America, and turn brother against brother and neighbor against neighbor. Rival cities will fight each other, and rival kings will struggle for power. And it's stated within the Apocrypha in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, also within the GNT version, how nations will arm themselves against other nations. And just going into how Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is going to bring great divine plagues upon spiritual Egypt, aka America, just like how he did aforetime, back within ancient Egypt. So therefore, nothing is new under the sun. And just like how you had the American Civil War that took place in April 1861 until May 1865, and there was a civil war between the so-called North, or the Union, versus the South, or the Confederacy, which was very heavy for the Chicago mayor to say about a rematch of another civil war within America. So we are definitely within those times. Rival cities will fight each other, and rival kings will struggle for power. I am going to frustrate the plans of the Egyptians and destroy their morale. They will ask their idols to help them, and they will go and consult mediums and ask the spirits of the dead for advice. I will hand the Egyptians over to a tyrant, to a cruel king who will rule them, aka Donald Trump. I, the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua Almighty, have spoken. And the words of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua are faithful and true. Like, pay attention to the current signs, hence these end-time biblical prophecies, and look what's coming about. And look how everything is coming into play. And that takes me right to Mark 3:23 within the NLT, and that's the New Living Translation. Yahushua called them over and responded with an illustration. How can Satan cast out Satan? He asked. A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. Similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. And that kingdom or that family that's being divided or feuding are just at odds with one another. That custom fits America as a whole, which further explains why America's on a downward spiral. Again, the city of confusion is broken down. And that's a great question for you sheeple Americans that are trying to cling on to this false narrative about making America great again, Like, how can America be made great again when you have all of this political, social, and racial divide? He will never survive. And the life force of America is ending. It's circling the drain. And psychological operations like this, because like I stated before in other lessons, Klaus Schwab did bring out at the WEF like a year or two ago how to expect an era of shock events, which is all to forge this great reset. So events like this that's currently taking place within Chicago is going to be like a domino effect upon other cities and states within America very soon. And that's going to breed a very chaotic American environment. So with that, hopefully you all stay edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.